everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me yet again. So I'm going to start off this video with some news about Leela, and it's good news. I had a phone call from the vet earlier today and she's a lot brighter than what she was. She's managed to eat some food and she has managed to keep going to the toilet with just a little bit of assistance with a hammock. So they've said to us that we might even be able to have her home within the next few days. So I will obviously be keeping you updated, but I wanted to share the amazing news. Another thing that is amazing as well has been all of the wonderful messages from you guys. Some of them have made me cry, some of them have made me laugh, and my husband as well. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, especially some of you where you've had pets go through similar things. It has really helped me keep going in, I would say, has been one of the worst times in my life over the last few days, and my husband's, of course. And I also want to give a special thank you. We had a notification on my PayPal account. I don't even use this. I had it when I set up YouTube. It was a buy me a coffee thing. Some of you have been so unbelievably kind and lovely, and you've made donations to go towards Leela's vet's bills, and it came as a real shock, but it really was a lovely surprise, and I can't thank you guys enough. It really does mean a lot to me and my husband. So thank you everybody, and thank you again for all of your messages. Right, before I set myself off and probably set you guys off, let's talk about some bad juju, some negative energy that seems to be following Harry and Meghan everywhere that they go. I shouldn't laugh because I'm pretty certain I've got some Dodgers fans in the comments. But before we get stuck onto the baseball game appearance, I've got a couple more stories to go over with you first involving those two. One of them, the first one, is to do with hypocrite Harry, who has been given a microphone yet again, someone else's podcast. He and Meghan are like a podcast tag team. They couldn't make a success with their own multi-million-pound Spotify deal, but they will jump at the chance to talk on someone else's podcast. Now, it's my understanding that this was meant to be about Harry's conversations to do with the online harms and dangers of children on social media, but he's chosen to go onto a comedian's podcast. Now, anybody with a brain cell here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would take a red flag with that. I would think to myself, this guy's a comedian and he wants me on his podcast to talk about such a serious subject. And needless to say, I don't think it went the way that Harry expected, and he was left looking the fool. As the age-old expression is, sometimes it's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt. But this is Harry and Meghan, and they never, ever learn. So I've got a couple of clips from this podcast. I'm going to break it down to just a few of them because I'm sure, much like Meghan, you can't handle Harry's voice. Meghan is like nails down a chalkboard for me. Harry he's Eeyore. He's doom and gloom and miserable. But we need to just go over these 3 clips that I'm going to play because you won't believe it unless you hear it yourself.
Should parents post photos of their children online? This has also been a very...
Parents can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The reality is, from what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've heard and experienced especially through the Parents Network, is you should be really, really worried, concerned, and cautious about putting photographs of your kids online.
He still cannot see the utter hypocrisy in him saying things like that. His wife, since she started her Instagram account at the beginning of the year when she went gaily skipping down the beach right in 2025 multiple times in the sand, we have never seen more of Archie and Lily. We've heard them singing, we've heard them talking, we've got videos. Meghan even accidentally leaked their faces, accidentally on purpose, I'm sure, and the latest Halloween PR stunt that they did, and the newspapers picked up on it. Meghan this year has used the children to promote herself as some sort of mummy influencer. She's used the children, hasn't she, to gain traction. There was a big build-up before her Netflix show aired. Will she be showing Archie and Lily? Because you saw her sitting down in the garden. Look what we made. And then they did kids things. So they used the children, the same as Meghan has used the children on her As Ever website. Some people, of course, would call that exploitation. But of course, it's different because it's their children. They can do as they please. But not when you're going to be constantly preaching at other people about the online harms and parents need to be more careful about what they put of their children on social media when his wife is near enough doing weekly posts. Moving on to the next clip, the host is getting Harry to do an American accent, but you can tell in the way and his tone that he's talking to Harry, he's talking about Cybertrucks. I'm honestly surprised he didn't have him in a MAGA hat. And it's like he wanted Harry to do a dumbed down version of Americans.
How's your yeehaw?
Yeehaw!
Can you do an American accent?
Which part of America?
Really emphasize the A, Applebee's.
A, Applebee's.
I love Applebee's.
I love Applebee's. I ordered breadsticks with ranch dressing at Applebee's.
Now, obviously, Harry is being geared on by the host here, but it shows his lack of intelligence that he can't see how this could be deemed offensive. And it reminds me of Harry when he was giving that Parents Network speech. Do you remember when he brought up Ryan the chicken farmer?
Ryan is sitting there, he's the chicken farmer, he's wearing ostrich boots, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. And yet as a parent, he's somehow expected to navigate his way around social media for his kids.
That's Harry implying somehow that chicken farmers in ostrich boots are so thick that they can't work out how to protect their children on social media. This is a man, I'd like to point out, ladies and gentlemen, that had the teacher help him cheat on his art exam. Now, in my final clip, you can tell here that the host is goading Harry. He's trying to make Harry look a fool. And let's be honest, Harry needs no help in that department whatsoever. So he's talking to Harry about an apparent feud between Charlie XCX and Taylor Swift.
I'm kind of thinking to myself, is this fair? Or did Charlie draw blood and Taylor had to respond? Sometimes I just think, where do we go from here, you know?
Yes, Harry, he was trying to, in fact, make you look stupid, because it's clearly obvious that Harry knows a lot about absolutely nothing, let alone some celebrity feud. Also, what came up in the podcast was the host ribbing Harry, as it were, over a quote in Spare, where he had been pretty much complaining about his daddy, the king, well, he was Prince Charles back then, gave him a clothing allowance, but that was only to cover formal wear. So poor little Harry had to wait until the sales, and he would go to TK Maxx, J. Crew and Gap and even buy clothes that were a little bit damaged. And the host turns around and says to him, "Bro, I'm so sorry you had to go through that." As, you know, he smirks at Harry. Now, Harry laughed it off, but it does remind the world how ridiculous some of the stuff that Harry came out with. This is a multi-millionaire that was honestly complaining a grievance was that his daddy would only pay for his formal clothes and he was left to get discount damaged clothes out of factory outlets. Honestly, the shit that he and Meghan have come out with over the years to try and paint the royal family in such a bad light, I'm glad that karma is definitely coming for them. Now, speaking of the royal family, and this is now moving on to his wife, I said that I wasn't going to talk about Meghan's products for As Ever because I do not want to promote it. But this one, I'm not so much as promoting it. This is something that's linked to Meghan's unbelievable brass neck that she is still cashing in on her royal wedding, right? This is the wedding that she called the spectacle for the world. So what has Meghan released? Well, she's released a candle. If grifting had a sense, maybe she could sell that one instead. The $64 candle is apparently meant to give off the scent of Meghan's royal wedding. She doesn't make it clear if she meant the spectacle for the world or whether she meant the secret wedding that she had 3 days beforehand that the Archbishop of Canterbury performer had to come forward and say there was no secret wedding 3 days beforehand. Again, highlighting the amount of bullshit that these two have come out with in the last 6 years. But as for Meghan doing a scent that reminds her of her wedding, I think I can come up with a few suggestions. She could have called it the heist, the ultimate scam. What about the con job? Or just the good old-fashioned scent, which I'm sure Meghan knows the aroma well, gold digger. Now, I'm sure a lot of the public do associate Meghan to a candle, it's just not one from her wedding. Now, as for Meghan merching candles, I'm honestly surprised that she didn't have Elton John's Candle in the Wind playing in the background of her Instagram launch. Now, this candle has been released at the same time as her other festive products, not festive, not Christmas, it's her holiday release. And I find the timing of this release bizarre for two separate reasons. First of all, we've not even had Halloween yet, and it seems a very strange time of year to do that. I think everybody's getting sick and tired of being oversaturated with all of the Christmas and holiday stuff. It seems to be happening earlier and earlier. And Meghan, it's not even, as I said, the end of October yet. And not only that, the second thing is, she has her final torturous festive special coming out with Netflix, who are her apparent partners when it comes to her as ever products. Well, surely they would want Meghan to release the products at the same time that show's released. That would make more sense. But then, this is Meghan. When has she ever really made sense? Take, for example, in my last video, I discussed that she took the children with Harry to a miserable day out at a pumpkin patch or a pumpkin farm. And they cleared it out. Security reasons, of course, or they don't want anybody having unauthorized pictures of their children. Yet the next day, or a couple of days later, Harry and Meghan go for a date night and make an appearance at a baseball game. No, they couldn't take their children to something fun like a big family event like that. The children are only wheeled out for organised photo shoots, clearly. But this wasn't any baseball game either. This is game number 4, or was game number 4 in the World Series. This is big, this is huge. And Meghan and Harry were the only ones, it seems, that rocked up with an entire entourage, police escorts, and their own private security team. There were lots of other celebrities there, long-term Dodgers fans, and then of course they were playing the Toronto Blue Jays. You had long-term supporters of the teams there, A-listers minding their own business, just not even looking for the cameras. They're there with friends, they're there with family, just generally trying to watch the game. Then you have these two posers who take priority seats right at the front. They were seated in front of genuine sporting American royalty as well. And needless to say, that hasn't gone down well with many people. Yes, the privacy-loving couple managed to bag the most expensive and exposed seats in the house to cheer on the Dodgers. They were sat in front of pitching legend Sandy Koufax and NBA legend Magic Johnson, who owns a percentage of the Dodgers. Even Dodger Blue, the #1 Dodgers fan site, could see the joke that these two are. Now, Dodgers fans are not happy. There are plenty of people speaking out across social media because, much like a few other big sports, baseball is highly superstitious. And many fans are blaming the bad juju that surrounds Harry and Meghan. Why were they even there, many ask? Well, I will go with maximum exposure, maximum coverage, front row seats. I guess the Dodgers were the one that offered them the best seats in their house, and the Toronto Blue Jays perhaps didn't cough up. So why do people think that Harry and Meghan are in fact the bad juju, the hex? Well, firstly, they were booed when they appeared on the Jumbotron, not just at that stadium, but also the Rogers Centre in Canada at the watch party. So there was definitely negative juju that was surrounding those two from the offset because people are sick and tired of them.
Sheesh, yeah, that is nasty.
Then, of course, you have the fact that Harry is the king's son, as he likes to remind everybody. And that king of the UK and the Commonwealth also happens to be the king of Canada. Harry's late grandmother is still on the Canadian dollar bills. So with that in mind, you'd expect them to be supporting the Toronto Blue Jays and not the LA Dodgers. Harry, in so many steps, has just stuck two fingers up at Canada and his father at the same time. Now, as for Meghan, well, she is also being called a traitor because Meghan has been an avid fan of the Toronto Blue Jays for decades. She has been seen countless times wearing their merchandise. So why did she swap allegiance? Well, much like her husband, she has absolutely no loyalty to anybody. When you think that she dumped her dog, she dumped her dad, she's dumped religions, she's dumped husbands. Meghan has had no problems dumping anybody that has been close to her, that supported her and loved her if it was beneficial to her. So of course, switching baseball teams wouldn't even be on her radar. Those two combined are now being called a hex for the Dodgers, who not only lost Game 4 6-2 to the Blue Jays, but they then went on to lose the following game. But Canadians see this as a win, not just the fact that, their team won, but also the fact that America can officially keep them. Because when you think about all of the things that Harry and Meghan have done to Canada already, they used them as a smokescreen. They said that they wanted to go to Canada so they could lead a private life with their child. Canadians welcomed them with open arms. Harry and Meghan completely took the pee. They treated the Canadian special police officers like lackeys. And then, of course, they ran across the border where they were always intending to go and didn't say so much as thank you to Canada for graciously hosting them. And it's not the last time that they've cost them a lot of money. Harry and Meghan, with their insistence on the ridiculous amount of security that they demanded when they went to the Invictus Games, cost again Canadian taxpayers a lot of money. Then you've got that a lot of Canadians that are monarchists and royalists are also just as disgusted as us in the UK and all of the other Commonwealth countries at how awful Harry and Meghan treated the Queen and Prince Philip in her final years. Then Harry also made an appearance at the CFL at the Grey Cup, and he was obnoxious to the host. He was there to promote the Invictus Games, and Harry made it very clear that he didn't really care about the game. He didn't even answer some of the questions where the host was trying to get Harry to have a bit of fun. He used them yet again. You think that they'd be done completely pissing off and alienating Canadians, but it seems that Harry and Meghan cannot help themselves, and they don't like to alienate one person at a time. They like to alienate entire countries at a time. So I think the Canadians are more than happy to say goodbye, good riddance. They can be the LA Dodgers bad luck charm going forward. But judging by the amount of boos, and now of course a lot of the fans, what they're saying after their team lost not once but twice, I don't think Harry and Meghan are going to be allowed past the security gates to enter another game. So guys, on that note, I will be back with you very soon, and we will be talking about real royal news because we've got some news about Catherine and William. And of course, we have huge news surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Who knew that the king had it in him? But it also makes me wonder, is something else about to come out? So take care for now, and I will see you soon. Bye.